Welcome to the Push Wild Black Show. I'm your host, Christian, and this is the Bearscast for week 8 for the Bears versus the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to do this a little different because I'm not watching the game in a bar. I'm actually at home listening to the game on NFL Plus because it is raining and I don't feel like going across the street to watch the game and get wet when I get home. So right now, it's the end of the first quarter. Bears are down 7-0, and this is just my quick thoughts for the first quarter. Where's Cole Kmet again? As of now, Arizona's up 7-0. There's really nothing of note here. It's just that the Bears had a drive where it was the first 7 passes, to second and 16, second and 12, 3 and 13. Caleb is okay. There was a couple of situations where he ran and he's got a little bit more protection, but still not feeling the passing and the lack of his checkdowns for everybody. Anyway, I will check back in in the second quarter. Later, y'all. Second half thoughts. It is now halftime. Bears are losing 21-9. The big play, other than the Bears not getting in the end zone for two possessions, where they started out good. Well, actually, there was 2 possessions where they started out really good. Caleb had a 44-yard pass to Roma Dunse, and Bears didn't get anything with it. There was also a fumble recovery by the Bears. It was a punch out. It was a forced fumble by Marvin Harrison Jr. Fumbled the ball and couldn't get in the end zone. They settled for field goals, and with about 30 seconds left in the second quarter, Amari DiMicado, 1 carry, 53 yards for a touchdown. I don't like they. I know what the Bears want to do, and this is where it's frustrating because I know what they want to do. I know the type of offense they're trying to run, but it's just like Caleb's getting blitzed a lot. He's got sacked twice. He's being hurried 11. He got hurried 11 times. His quarterback rating is 64.1, which really isn't that big of a deal to me, but it's just like he's still not having these. He's better than last week, because last week he just seemed off, and he didn't really. He seemed off, and he didn't seem hurried. He seemed hurried. He's still hurried this game, but his yardage is a lot better. It's 11 for 24, 137 yards, but no touchdowns, no interceptions, and it just seems like whenever they get a drive, like there's been a few passes where his deep ball with Roma Dunse is actually really good, but it just seems like they can't get in the end zone. And this is the frustrating part because I don't know. Like, they did do one check down to let's see. Hold on. They did do one check down to DeAndre Swift for 17 yards when Caleb was in trouble. But a lot of it has been Roma Dunse with 2 big plays, DJ Moore with 1 big play, and then there's been some targets to Keenan Allen. A lot of the passes have been, second and long, and third and long. So this is frustrating because the Bears haven't been able to stop the Arizona running game at all. They have 3 rushing touchdowns. Excuse me. Total yards for rushing, excuse me, is 148 yards in the first half off 16 carries. So they got to get the rhythm going. This is another one of those slow-ish start games for the Bears, and they're down pretty substantially now. They get the ball starting the second half, so that's good. But they got to get in the end zone. These field goals are not going to get it if the Cardinals know that they can run on you. Because quite honestly, Kyler Murray hasn't really played well. He's played okay. I mean, it's not bad, but he's only had 12 attempts, where Caleb has had 24 attempts, and that's partially because of the offense that the Bears are wanting to run. But Kyler hasn't really been playing lights out here. But it's just their running game is just enough, and quite honestly, the Bears' mistakes are just enough to keep them ahead of this team and give them a little cushion. The Bears, the big penalty was a leverage play when the Bears was going to stop the Cardinals to a field goal, and then it ended up being a first and goal, or 1st and 11, and it ended up being a touchdown, another rushing touchdown. So they got to figure out something, man, because this is not going to cut it in the second half. They got to get Caleb in a rhythm and then hopefully get in this end zone, because the field goal is not going to do it. See you on the second half or in the end of the third quarter. So. Third quarter thoughts. This is going to be quick because nothing really happened. Bears started the second half 3-and-out, and they pretty much stopped the Cardinals from getting a touchdown, but they got a field goal, so it's 9-24. Bears lose 29-9. It wasn't that close. Nothing of note that happened in the fourth quarter, really. Penalty from the Bears was a safety, and then the Cardinals kicked the field goal. So 29-9. Final stats: 22 of 41, 216 yards for Caleb Williams, 5.3 yards average pass, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 6 sacks. DeAndre Swift, 51 yards rushing, no touchdowns. Roschon Johnson, 3 carries. DeAndre had 16 carries, 51 yards. Roschon Johnson, 3 carries, 13 yards. Caleb Williams, 4 carries, 6 yards. That really doesn't matter because most of his carries were getting out of trouble. Roma Dunse, 5 receptions, 104 yards, 7 targets. Keenan Allen, 4 of 35, 4 receptions, 35 yards. And DJ Moore, 4 receptions, 33 yards. Still don't know why he's not being used more. DeAndre Swift, 6 receptions, 31 yards. He could have been used a lot more in this game, in the passing game. Roschon Johnson's 2 receptions, 8 yards. Jarrett Everett, 1 reception, 5 yards. Still no Cole Kmet. And the pass rush for the Cardinals, I didn't know they were going to be this good, was everywhere. 6 sacks. I'm not sure how many hurries. I read it wrong earlier. But yeah, Caleb was rushed a lot. Cole Kmet, don't know where he's. I guess they used him as a blocker, but I don't know where he was in the offense. this wasn't as aggravating as the Washington game. The Washington game was aggravating. I said earlier in the first and second quarters, because I'm breaking this down into quarters because I did this at home, that the Bears they have to figure out something in the first half because these slow starts suck. They didn't do anything in the first quarter. They had some success in the second quarter offensively to a point because it only ended in 3 field goals, and then they didn't do anything for the rest of the game, literally. Caleb, if you look at statistically, Caleb did better than Kyler Murray, but Kyler didn't have to do much because the running game was nuts. 213 yards for the Cardinals. James Conner had 107 yards, and then that 51-yard run from Imani DeMarcado at the end of the second quarter. That basically, I don't want to say it sealed the game, but it basically made it from a basically turned it into from a 9-14 game to a 9-21 game, and then it was basically they didn't have to do anything. So I'm frustrated watching this offense. Just side note. This offense is frustrating. I was listening to the radio call. They do a quick halftime show at the end of because it's a local call. So they do like a quick halftime show, and they take calls, which is cool. I think that's the only. I think ESPN 1000. I know they do the Bears radio call, but I think they're the only radio call I know that takes calls. And somebody was saying during the little call-in part that I feel like I'm watching the Matt Nagy offense. And I hate Matt Nagy as a coach. Like, as offense coordinator, okay, fine. But we all know Andy Reid is running Kansas City. I watched Matt Nagy for basically Mitch's tenure, like the rest of Mitch's tenure. I think Matt had 3 seasons, 3 or 4 seasons. I think it was 3 seasons. And I watched 2 seasons with Matt, where he just didn't want to. It seemed like with Matt, he kind of like had this Kansas City pass happy offense, and he didn't really know what he had, and he just ran his system, and that's it. And it was frustrating, especially during Justin Fields' rookie year, because it was kind of like there was this idea of my system works, and he didn't want to run the ball, and everything was pass-centric, and it was really stupid to the point that it was frustrating. And watching last year, same difference, and I forget the coordinator's name. Last year was frustrating because it's the same difference. They had a specific system of how this was supposed to be, and slow starts, and they didn't really know how to use Justin Fields. And I feel like with Shane Waldron, this was supposed to stop. Like last week, everybody was complaining after the Hail Mary game, and you had a player, John, with the fans and Washington, and not really paying attention, and messed up his coverage. Everybody was worried about like discipline defensively and everything. And they were wondering about Matt Eberflus as a coach. Matt Eberflus is fine. Like, that's not the problem that I have with the Bears. There's a couple things I don't like about this game where I don't like that Caleb Williams, the game is in hand. there's no real reason to have Caleb Williams out when it's 3 minutes left in the game and you're down by 20. Why is he in the game? Um, put and can't think of dude's name now. Put your backup in, let him get a couple snaps, and get out of there. Because what ended up happening was Caleb took a couple of hits to where he was getting up gingerly at the end of the game, and there's no Tyson Bagent. Put Tyson Bagent in there in the last 3 minutes, and let him get some snaps, see what happens. But there's no reason for Caleb to be out there because, as I was saying before, Caleb got hit a couple times and he was woke. He was getting up gingerly. I don't know. I see why they called the three timeouts as early as they did in the fourth quarter, but I feel like that could be managed better. But as far as like building a culture outside of penalties, because that happens every game, and outside what happened last week, which everybody in Chicago media was like, Eberflus needs to go and all this other stuff. The culture defensively is fine. They got a bunch of young defensive players. There were injuries today. They got a bunch of young defensive players, and the defense kept them in last week's game until until the fourth quarter, and something snapped, and Caleb was able to lead you down, and then the Hail Mary situation happened. So I don't blame Eberflus for that. I blame Shane Waldron for last week's performance and this week's performance. I don't like his offense, and I don't know if he's trying to run the system. I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know what the philosophy is, but I feel like when you have an offensive line, there needs to be more help where quick passes and Caleb isn't running around and Caleb isn't holding the ball. And I feel like him throwing 41 times when you have a bad offensive line is not helping. And if you're going to throw that many times, he's throwing down the field. He's looking down the field all the time, and his deep ball is still inconsistent for me. Where is Cole Kmet at? Where is DeAndre Swift more in the passing game? He had 6 receptions for 31 yards. Yeah, but I feel like he needed more than that. And they haven't figured out how to do the running game, how to set up the running game very, very well. Defensively, you can run on this team. I don't know why more teams haven't figured that out, but the Houston game showed that you can run on the Bears. And that's what Arizona did. Kyler Murray didn't really do anything of note. He had a pretty decent game, 154 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 13-20. They basically had a power running game. That 51-yard run at the end of the second quarter was basically the score that sealed the game. They didn't have to do anything. And next week is going to be New England, I think, which is a winnable game. But this was a winnable game. Bears have had so many winnable games that I don't even know if I can just say, yeah, we're going to win that one. And we haven't even hit divisional play yet, and can easily go 4-5 at the end of next week. Shane Waldron was supposed to stop the nonsense offensively. The Bears still don't know how to run a cohesive, consistent offense, game in and game out. I don't know what they were doing. Cole Kmet wasn't anywhere to be found. There has to be a way to get a rookie quarterback comfortable in the beginning of the game. You shouldn't wait until maybe the third or the fourth quarter for this young man to figure out a good string of plays. There should be a set script of plays. There should be a set, a plan on how to get him more comfortable, especially with an offensive line. Yeah, he can run around and he can go do bootlegs and all types of stuff. They don't have to. He's not in the pocket very often, which is a good thing. But still, man, like he's holding the ball too long and he's running around and he's getting himself hit because he's not. This isn't Justin Fields, which is frustrating too because they're still they're still running like design runs for him, and that's not how he runs. So I don't know. I'm not as mad as I was last week because last week was stupid. This week was kind of slow game, and it wasn't as dumb because Caleb had a good game, I guess. But it's just offensively, I don't know what they're doing, and it's frustrating because this was supposed to be a stable offensive coordinator to go along with a pretty good defensive head coach that's basically calling the plays. But anyway, pushing while blackout later.